and I've got some important instructions for you. So pay attention, especially young people. Because the key to this is we want you, this is all about you. We want you to be able to ask, and this is how you do it. So again, at the bottom of your screen, and I'm looking at it right now, it should say Q&A. And when you see that icon, you can take action on it anytime you want, click on it, and type in your question for Stewart. And we will handpick you to ask that question to Stewart. You'll have a conversation with him. And yet, when we get to that time, you need to be ready. And if you see yourself on the top of the screen, that means we picked you and your question, and we'll give you the chance to ask it on screen with Stewart. And so you've got to remember what you ask. And that's the trick for me anyway, but you've got to remember what your question was. So lastly, in terms of instructions, if you've done any of these calls before, it's a little bit different. You won't see yourself on screen unless we call on you to ask your question. All right, we all good? We're ready? So a little bit about Stewart Cink. And let me just give you an overview of his career and his life. But Stewart now living in the Atlanta, Georgia area in Duluth, and has probably lived there longer than I know, but that's where he lives. And Stewart grew up, though, in Huntsville, Alabama, played collegiately at Georgia Tech University, and in 1995, he turned pro. And Stewart has 13 professional wins, including 2 on the European Tour, 3 on the Korn Ferry Tour, and 6 on the PGA Tour. And pretty amazing. A lot of us would remember his Open Championship win, and very historic, and it was just a great win and a defining moment in his life. And yet, probably the most important thing about Stewart Cink, his biggest win was marrying his wife, Lisa, and they have 2 sons, Connor and Reagan. And so that's a little bit about Stewart Cink. As a way to introduce Stewart a little bit further, like I haven't done enough, I want you to see this video that captures a special moment in his life around the Payne Stewart Award. And if you know anything about this award, there's awards, and then there's really big awards, and this is about as big an honor in the golf world as one can get. And so let's start the video, check it out, and then we'll talk to Stewart.
Golf teaches you, at even a really early age, about character, about charity, and sportsmanship. It's important to give back because of that sense of gratitude you have for how much the game has given to you. Being the recipient of the Payne Stewart Award means that I've actually made a difference in my community. Golf can mean so many things. It's a lot more than just a scorecard.
Stewart, I don't know if you could see that, but welcome to Virtual Game Day. Good to have you here.
No, thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I think you're now at home enjoying some time. And what have these COVID days been like for you since over the last 3 months?
Well, probably the same as almost everybody out there, you and all the other people on there watching, that, you know, we've been at home most of the time and trying to get exercise and fresh air and do things around the house that you don't usually find yourself doing. And I've been very fortunate living in Georgia that I've been able to get to the golf course the whole time. Our golf course has never closed down. You know, they implemented all the social distancing and the guidelines that were handed down, and we've been honoring all those and feeling safe on the golf course. But I've been able to play. I feel bad for people that live out there that if you want to go play golf and your golf courses have been shut down by mandate, that's, you know, it's a tough thing. But I've been able to play, and I've played a lot, and it's been 3 months, but I'm ready to get back out in the tournament golf again.
There you go. Stewart, the Payne Stewart Award. And what did winning that award mean to you just a few years ago? And what does the award stand for?
Well, the award is it's named after Payne Stewart, who a lot of us of a certain age know was one of the all-time great characters in golf and competitors, and he died in a plane crash when he was at the height of his career in 1999. And it was just one of the saddest moments in my life that revolves around the game of golf. And, I'll never forget that. And so the PGA Tour created an award that that names a player every year that is, it's all about a career worth of charity, character, and sportsmanship. And I think just to be considered for the award too, you also have to have a baseline of career achievements on the golf course, but then off the course, it's all about character, charity, and sportsmanship. And, we don't do any of the things we do off the course for recognition. We don't do the things we do on the course for recognition. We love competing and we're good at golf. And so we just try to see every day how much better we can be and how we can compete against the best in the world. And the same goes for off the course. Golf gives us so many gifts, and golf is a great vehicle for charity work. And there's a lot of people around us in our immediate vicinity, whether you live in Atlanta, Georgia, like I do, or New York City, or Fort Worth, or I don't know, but there's always people in need. And so golf, if you, when you use golf as a way to give back, it's a really efficient, really good vehicle for donating money to charity or for helping drum up support or awareness. And so, like I said, we don't do any of that stuff for recognition. I happen to be recognized by winning the Payne Stewart Award for some of the stuff that my wife and I had done off the course to help out with some of our ministries that we support, and a neonatal intensive care unit right here in my county. And, it's great to be honored, but that's not the purpose of why we do it.
Well, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that over the last, I don't know, it's been a few years, but you and I have done a lot of things together through FCA Golf, and you're one of those guys who has never asked for anything, but has served to the max. And so we appreciate you. And, as we get ready to take some questions, I think that's the key to this event is letting our young people ask you questions. So again, I'm going to go over this real briefly, but you'll see the Q&A marking. Go to that, ask Stewart your question. If you see yourself on screen, that means we picked you. And so just want to give you that heads up on that. You need to remember your question. And again, you'll have that conversation. And I see a question already. But anyway, that's the deal. And so we're going to go to our first question from Jackson Kuntz. And Jackson, where are you from?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona.
All right,
Jackson,
I've been there. Say hi to Stewart Cink and ask your question.
So, what for you is the most important, is the biggest thing when it comes to competing and playing, as far as the mental aspect?
Mentally, that's a great question, and I wish there was a simple answer, but I think the most important thing mentally when you're competing and playing, first of all, I think you have to practice in a really serious way and intensely practice to get yourself ready so you can relax when you're on the course. Most people kind of relax when they're practicing. They hit balls on the range and they go putt and whatever, but they're unstructured. And we get in the course, and like my caddy likes to say, you have that 200-pound scorecard in your pocket. Suddenly it means more. But I think a big key is to do it the other way around and intensely practice and do your drills like it's the Masters. And then when you get to the Masters, you'll already have been there. And that's when you can relax. That's a big, big part of it. And then the second part of competing, I believe, is to learn what you can control and what you can't control. Because a lot of our frustration and fears and doubts and anxiety creeps into our confidence in golf. And most of that comes from trying to control things that you can't control about your golf score. And that's the bounces, the wind, the lip outs, stuff like that. And if you control what you can control, your process and your mental thoughts and your preparation, then you will stand to encounter very few barriers in success.
Wow, great question, great answer. And Stewart, I'm gonna show another video, and you're gonna like this one. You're already smiling, but check this out, and we want you to respond to it. So Jeff, if you've got the capacity, let's start that video.
How do I embrace baldness? Well, I didn't really have much of a choice, first of all, but my wife actually helped me quite a bit.
I said, hey, let me show you something.
She goes straight to the television, and she stops it on pause.
Look at your head when you take your hat off.
Along the sides here, it was really curly.
Oh.
Not attractive at all. So I said, okay, I'm going to go through life as a bald person. Let's go.
He proceeded to go to the bathroom and get his razor and shave the head.
You know, I'm a bald guy, and it's cool. My name is Stewart Cink, and I am definitely comfortable in my own skin.
Stewart, that's great. And talk a little bit about Lisa and her influence in your life, and talk about that commercial and what it's like to have a beautiful bald head like yourself.
Well, you know, like they say that God made oh shoot, I can't even remember my own joke. Dang it. I'm glad I can hit a golf ball, because I'm a worthless comedian. So I'll skip that joke, and it didn't land. No, that's a funny story that they kind of condensed into just a few seconds on that commercial. Actually, I was playing in Charlotte, which is about a 4-hour drive from where I live in Atlanta. And so after the tournament was over, I had played really well. I was paired with Mickelson the last day, and we both finished in the top 5, if I remember right, and both had a good day. So we got a lot of TV time. And on the last hole, when we putted out, you know, commonly back in the old days before COVID-19, you used to take off your hat and shake hands physically. And that may not happen anymore. But so I took my hat off and shake Phil Mickelson's hand on camera there. And when I got home, my wife had the playback paused. And usually when she does that, it's like, oh, I want to show you this shot, or I want to ask you what happened here, or why did you hit such a terrible shot? You know, something like that. But instead she said, no, look how bad you look. And I'll never forget it. So look how bad you look. And it was true. I mean, I took my hat off. I had a white tanless dome right here. I had thick black curly hair right here on the side and a little gray. And then I had like a really dark tan right here. So I looked like if you open a pack of Neapolitan ice cream, that's what I looked like. And so she says, you need to do something about that. So I'm like, you're not wrong. Let's go. So we went back to the back, and the rest of the story was on the video. Shaved my head. That was in 2008. So I'm about just past 12 years now of being a bald person. And a lot of that came from Lisa, because she had the guts to look me in the eye and say, you look terrible. That's the kind of person she is. She's direct, and she is super caring and sweet, but she doesn't mince words. And if I wanted a sugarcoat her for a spouse, boy, I married the wrong person.
There you go. Yeah, you got to love those truth tellers. And
yeah.
Hey, we've got TJ Rodriguez. And TJ, I love your background. Where are you from?
I'm from Bowling, Texas, just south of Fort Worth.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an ocean there, but I like that. But
Thank you.
TJ, meet Stewart Cink, and
Hello.
What do you have to ask?
What helps you remain focused on the present shot and doing a golf tournament, since there's lots of stuff going on? You have the wind, the gallery, people cheering you on to get in the hole and score an albatross. And what helps you stay focused and have that mentality on the golf course?
Well, you're right, and that's a great question. There's a lot going on, especially when you make your way to, say, the back 9 and you're in contention or leading. You know, there's a lot more going on in between your ears right here than there is the wind and the lies of the grass and all that stuff. So you got to figure out a way to deal with that. And one way that I do it, and I think a lot of the good players do it, is number one, you really bear down on your routine. And again, going back to the previous answer, controlling what you can control and letting go what you can't. But I think also a big part of it, number 2, is a physical list. Like this piece of paper right here is something that we printed out, because my printer sits right there. But this could very well be a list of things that I'm trying to focus on. Maybe it's something, a feel in my golf swing. Maybe it's a reminder about where my heart really wants to get its joy and peace. Am I really seeking joy and peace? And, you know, do I only smile if the golf ball goes exactly where I want it to go? Well, I like to be able to say that answer to that is no, that I've got other reasons in my life that I have joy and peace, and the results of my shots don't matter. No, they matter, but that's not what I depend on and need. So the problem is when you get into contention, or when you are trying to beat your buddy, or you're trying to win your first AJGA tournament, or when you're on the screen right in front of the world right now talking to a pro golfer, you start to think other things matter more than what really is truly important to you. That's why I think it's important to have a physical list written down. Back of my yardage book, if I had one right here, I'd show you. Back of my yardage book, every tournament, I have a list of things that are important to me. And sometimes I get a little off and I have to go back and look at that list, and it reminds me what's important, and it gets my heart in the right place, and it helps me focus on the present. So I hope that helps.
Yes.
Did that help, TJ?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thanks for coming on.
Looks like we've got Mark Morris. And Mark, I don't know if this is your question or, and now I don't see you, but there you are. And now two guys or two people. Mark, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Who do you have with you?
This is Ace Maddox. He's my 9-year-old son.
Hi.
Hi there.
Well, great. Meet Stewart Cink.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Maddox.
Do you have a question?
What's your question?
What's your question?
When you made that hole in one, how did it feel and impact you?
How did it impact me? Well,
If you would mute, that'd be great.
yeah, put it on mute and I'll answer the question. I think you're referring to a hole-in-one that I made not that long ago. I don't have too many holes in one. I've only made 6 in my whole career, and I've played a lot of holes. But holes in one are mostly, there's some pretty bad shots that go in the hole. I've hit some really good shots that go in the hole too, but I've gotten away with a few. And I've seen some real skanks go in the hole. So holes in one aren't always about quality, but one thing they are always about is it's a shock to the system, and it's a surprise when you hit your ball towards the flag and boom, it drops in the cup. And it just so happens that I made a hole in one last week on Wednesday here, my 6th one, right here at my golf course in my backyard. And the feeling I had was immediately, I was almost embarrassed because I was playing well and I was playing with some friends of mine and I was winning, and I made a hole in one, and I kind of felt a little bit sheepish and guilty about making a hole in one. And it's strange that that's the way that I reacted, but it is a little bit like that. And it's exciting, but at the same time, it's like, I just got lucky because I hit a good shot and it would have gone a foot from the hole, but it went in the hole. So just being really honest, that's how it feels when I've made holes in one. Is it feels a little bit weird and a little bit shocking, but they're fun and they're fun to talk about. And, it's one of the most enjoyable parts of the game for sure.
Looks like we've got Colt Hout on. And Colt, where are you from? Unmute. Now try.
Hello.
Hi, Colt.
Hey, Colt.
I'm Olney, Illinois. It's like in southern Illinois.
No, I grew up close to there. So, but anyway, glad to have you. And say hi to Stewart Cink.
What up, Stewart?
What up, Colt? You got a question today?
Yeah. So, what is your favorite thing to do, when you're playing golf?
When I'm playing golf, there's only one thing to do. That's play golf. I mean,
yeah, but
you got something else to do when you're playing golf. If you do, then maybe you're not doing the right things.
Yeah, but maybe just something to keep in your mind while you're playing it.
Are you talking about a swing thought or something to keep you? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's different. So, and I want to start by saying I'm a really terrible teacher. So I've never seen you hit a shot, and I wouldn't even pretend to start, trying to tell you what to think about in your golf swing. But one thing that's common in golf, when you ever got a good round going and you're like, oh, I might shoot, whatever. I might break 80 for the first time, or I might shoot even par for the first time, or I might beat my best friend or whatever. You know how you get nervous and you start you don't want to let that round get away from you? Well, what happens in your body affects the tempo of your swing. And so one of the things I like to think about when I get that feeling, because I get that, and just because we're on the PGA Tour doesn't mean we're robots and we're immune to that stuff. It just means that we've learned how to deal with that stuff. It still happens, but we deal with it. I think that rhythm and tempo are super important in everybody's swing. And there's people that have a super fast swing, like Brent Snedeker. And there's people who have a super slow, like, you know what Sung J M swing looks like? He's got a real slow backswing and he's got a weird looking tempo. But if you start to feel that way, start to feel nervous, like you're holding on for dear life and like you know, starting to almost throw up, I think it's really important to remember your rhythm and to stay nice and loose. Because if you start getting tight and quick, the golf ball will not let you hide from that. The golf ball knows. And so that's a big key, to maintain your rhythm by focusing on tempo and slowing things down a little bit.
All right.
Okay.
That's a good
right.
lesson.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
It helped me. And hey, Nathan, I'm going to ask you to hang on 1 second, and we're going to ask Stewart a couple of quick questions, and this is the lightning round. So, Stewart, we just want you to give us your quick answer on some quick questions. But
all right,
in your opinion, best golfer of all time?
Tiger Woods.
Pro you most admire?
Tiger Woods. Can we just say Tiger for all of them and just move to the next round?
Well, the next one's going to be hard. But favorite tournament on tour?
Favorite tournament on tour, Masters. But favorite not major, because the majors are really easy and everyone says the Masters. Probably Harbortown, the RBC Heritage at Harbortown, which is going to be next week.
And you won that, right?
I got 2 wins there. Yeah.
There you go. Even better.
Better.
So, hey, biggest influence in your life?
That would be my wife, Lisa.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Favorite thing to do when you're not playing golf?
Wintertime, skiing. I love to ski in the snow. Summertime, barbecue cooking.
That's a great answer, and I hear you're very good. But so
at skiing? No.
No, not at skiing. Stay away from that. But hey, is it Natham or Natham?
Is Nahum.
Hey, great name. And where you from, Natham?
I am from Sanford, Florida, which is near Orlando.
Yeah.
I know where that is.
We know where that's at. So
sure.
Well, great. Say hi to your good friend, your new best friend, Stewart Cink.
Hi, Mr.
How you doing, Nahum? Good. You got a question?
Yeah, so what is your favorite course on the PGA Tour, and also doesn't have to be on the PGA Tour, anything.
What my favorite course, and then what was the second part of your question?
And it doesn't have to be on the PGA Tour, just your local.
Oh, favorite course anywhere?
Right.
Okay. My favorite course on the PGA Tour, I'm going to say I already kind of spoiled this answer back in the lightning round because I said Harbortown, and that's probably my favorite course on the PGA Tour, but I'm going to give you a different answer since I'd already said that. And I'll say Pebble Beach. I love Pebble Beach. And Pebble Beach, I haven't always been a huge Pebble Beach fan, but over the years, I think as I got older and matured and played more and more events there, I think I learned to appreciate Pebble Beach more. That's my, we'll call that a West Coast favorite. But my favorite course anywhere in the world is the old course at St. Andrews. I've played in, I think, 5 British Opens there. And it's not where I won the British Open, but to me, it's just the best course to play. And honestly, there's not really even a close second to me. I love St. Andrews so much.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Grady, where are you from?
I'm from Rio Communities, New Mexico.
Wow, we're getting young people from everywhere. Do you enjoy the game?
I do, very much.
Who's your favorite golfer?
Have to say Jordan Spieth.
Hey, I was trying to set you up. So
he wasn't falling for that.
Say hi to Stewart and ask him a question.
Okay. When did you begin to seriously play golf and know when you wanted? How did you know you wanted to make it your career?
It's funny. I was not one of the kind of kids who grew up saying, I'm going to be a PGA Tour player from the time I was 5 years old. I never thought about that at all. And I have a funny video clip from when I was 16. I played in what the AJGA used to call the Rolex tournament the Rolex All-American, which was the biggest match play. It was a major on the AJGA tour. And I was kind of new on the scene, and I came in at 16 years old playing against 16, 17s and, kids that were really good, the best in the world, really. And I won. And in the post-round interview, they said, like, what do you see for your future in golf? And I said, I hope one day I can manage a pro shop. And that was my answer. And I'm like, yeah, really aiming high. But to be honest, I never really thought about golf being like a career for me. When I was a kid, I played in tournaments from age 8, and I was successful, but I didn't know that was going to mean anything. I wanted to get a college scholarship. I did that. I went to Georgia Tech. And then when I got to Georgia Tech and I competed pretty well there, starting in my second year, I think that's when I started realizing that maybe I can take a shot at the pros. And I was an All-American at Georgia Tech. And then by the senior year, I was the #1 player in the country. And I got the awards for College Player of the Year. So at that point, it was obvious I was going to turn pro, and I hit the ground running and never looked back. But I wasn't the kind of, I never really planned ahead like that. I've never was one of these kids that said, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be a star one day. You watch. That wasn't me at all. I was just like, I just want to see if I can be better tomorrow than I was today. And that,
Wow.
has been something I keep up with now too. And it's been something that served me well.
It's great advice, Grady. So, hey, we are going to take our last question, and I apologize, but I want to honor your time and Stewart's but my screen says Daniel, but I see more than Daniel. So Daniel, introduce your.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and this is my sister Gabriella. She wants to ask a question.
Okay.
All right.
How do you keep your attitude under control, especially when you want to be a good example as a Christian?
Well, that's a good question, because when God created us, he created us in perfection, just like he is. But then we messed it all up and became sinful. And so the perfection flew out the window. And so now me, Mr. Jim Essery on there, you two, all of us are born into this imperfection, and our nature doesn't really want us to be like God. Our nature is to be, maybe a little bit mean or selfish or sinful in some way. And so we always have this tug of war going between, when you choose God, your nature still kind of wants you to choose the bad stuff. And it's constantly something you have to remind yourself of. And one of the most important parts of my day is in the morning. And I believe firmly that every day you have to start your day by getting yourself set right and getting your heart in the right place and asking God, what can I be for you today? Because if you don't choose to pursue God in the morning every day all over again, then the world is going to pursue you, and your gates are going to be open, and the world's going to rush right into your heart. And it's not a pretty world sometimes, as we have seen now with 3 months of the coronavirus impacting our lives. So, but that's a really important question you asked. And that's what I like to do, is every morning I like to try to reset my heart and refresh my soul and let God tell me what he wants me to be that day. And so it doesn't always keep the world out, because I make mistakes and I fall down and I have to pick myself back up again. But that's one way that I think I can minimize that, and understanding that I've done my best. And so I hope that helps, but that's what I try to do.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, you got it.
Hey, Daniel, where are you guys from?
We're from Cleveland, Georgia, near Helen.
Wow.
That's not too far from where I live.
Well, good.
Really?
Well,
Where do you live?
I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm probably pointing to your house right now.
Well, great to have you on the call. And Stewart, that was a great lead in too, as we talk about life and faith. And And, these are crazy days that we live in. And, we've got a lot of people on Facebook Live and a lot of people on Zoom call, on this call. And yet, how does your faith carry you through times like this when we've been through a virus and now with all the riots and everything? How is Jesus your rock through these tough times?
Well, I think the simplest answer is that how is he my rock? He just is. He just is. Because I think you have to go all the way back to the very beginning of when we're created. And to me, the argument that we were just a bunch of molecules floating around in some liquid soup and we came together and now we have iPads and desks and vehicles and golf clubs and people just doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't add up. But a creator makes sense to me. And God created us. Once you settle that, then you have to ask yourself about what are the implications if I decide to follow him or not. And if I don't see how, if you believe God created us, that it's really not very easy to say that I'm not going to follow him. And so using looking at the coronavirus as an example, and then the racial unrest and the what happened to George Floyd and what's happened since then to our country. Boy, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's heartbreaking, really. And times like this just remind me that whether it's protesting in peace or protesting in violence, or people that feel like they've been wronged, or people that feel like they haven't been wronged, all of us need to follow the example of Jesus Christ that's in the Bible, especially the first 4 books of the New Testament, what we call the gospel. If we could all embrace the teachings of Christ in the gospel, I promise you there would be no riotings, no looting, there would be no George Floyd death. And it just seems like a blueprint for success for so many different problems that ail this world. And but that's really how I use my faith. I mean, being a Christian is not just some passive thing where you accept Christ and just sit back and say, okay, world, give me your best shot. No, it's an active pursuit every single day. And it doesn't always look real easy, and it doesn't feel easy sometimes. But it is something you can root yourself in, and something that can iron out the peaks and the valleys in your life, where it can feel really bad in life sometimes. And having unconditional type of love like God offers us through Jesus Christ is something that is just not substitutable with anything that you think you can get out of the world.
I love what you said, Stewart, and I think it applies to all of us, and young and old, and older. And I'm talking about myself, but let's just point to Jesus, and as you said, the whole the Gospels are so much about Jesus, and I would make this offer to anybody on this call, and that is this: that FCA Golf has developed this program called Game Day, which usually is on a golf course where the PGA Tour is playing. Now it's virtual like this, and we sure appreciate Stewart. But last year we introduced a New Testament, and that New Testament is available to you today, free of charge, for anybody that just reaches out and contacts Don Santo at FCA Golf. And I want to make sure you get the information. Hopefully we've got your information, but it could be the best gift you ever receive. And what's cool about it, it's very contemporary in its writing, and but it's got guys like Stewart Cink and Zach Johnson and Webb Simpson and other great pros who love Jesus Christ. And so that's your gift. And so, Stewart, we appreciate you, so much of being on this call. Before we close, any last words?
I would just, like to add one thing, I guess, and that is that the time with the virus has been hard on us all. And then, right at the end, when it seems like things are starting to kind of open up and get closer back to normal, then we have this just wrenching division in our country. And I think we're all shaken by it. And one thing that that I'd like to add to what I said before is that this time, these last couple months and what's been going on lately has really caused me to examine what I really feel like is important to me. And sometimes the little things that you let take hold of your heart they sneak up on you, and before you know it, it's got a grip on you. And for me, because I'm a professional golfer, it's real easy to identify golf as one of those things. I care deeply and immensely about golf because it means a lot to me. It's my job, it's my career, it's, you know, I'm a good golfer, and I like to be at my best. I feel like it's a gift that God's given me that I'm in charge of perfecting. And so it matters to me, but it's a real fine line between it being important to me and it controlling me, and it being something that I have to have for my own self-esteem or my self-belief. That's when I cross the line. And coronavirus has taught me about other things in my life that have been that way too, that I didn't even know, that I got taken away from me because of the virus. And now, you know, I feel like I'm being dealt a bad hand or something because I'm missing those things. And so if you people out there that are listening, and I want to thank you for coming on board here and participating. If you have something like that in your life, let a time like this, let it help you identify something that you can improve about yourself. And I hope that none of you were affected by the coronavirus. And I seriously doubt that that's something that I can say with confidence that none of you were, because you probably were. I hope that it wasn't too bad for you, but use a time like this to try to make yourself a little bit better and identify some places in your life that could use improvement. A time like this when we've been at home, you know, my wife and I have been kind of sequestered here in the house for a lot of it. And I learned a little bit about my relationship with her, you know, some things that I did and some patterns and some tendencies that I don't like very much. I've made some changes. And I think she also identified some things that she didn't like about me that she wants me to change. So, but I'm serious that I think that a time like this with the virus we've never seen anything like this before. And it definitely has caused us to have a lot of fear and anxiety, all of us, not just you guys or me, but all of us. And, but use it and try to let it identify something in you that can make you come out the other end a little bit of a better version of the self that went into the beginning of the coronavirus. So that I wanted to add that, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, that's so well said. And, you know, I don't know if this is normal or not, but let me just offer a closing word of prayer. Father, thank you for Stewart Cink, and thank you for his love for you and how clear he explains his love for the game of golf and good tips, but he also has this love for you and for his family. So I just thank you for Stewart and Lisa and what they stand for. And yet I pray for every person on this call too, that they would know that there's a God who loves them. And so may these people get through this tough time, just like we all want to. And as Stewart just said, may we find something in our lives that we can use to get better. And I know for me, drawing closer to Jesus Christ is something that I've gotten better at. So thank you for that. Thank you for this time. We love you a lot, and we pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Got a free Bible for you. God bless you.
See you guys.